Have you ever wondered why 2hollis music sounds so unique? And why every time you hear the start of his song you immediately know who made the beat, whose song it is? I did, and I think I know why. So in today's video I'm gonna show you a beat I made using the pillars of 2hollis production. And also I have a surprise for you, but more about it later. So yeah, without any further ado, let's jump into FL Studio and let's see why 2hollis music is so unique. Alright, and this is the beat I've prepared for today's video. The beat consists of two parts, same as the whole kit. We have the trap part here and the more EDM kind of part here. The kit itself is structured the same. We have EDM part made by me and trap part made by JJ. And really inside the kit there's everything you may need for 2hollis type beats. Whether you are making trap type beats like 2hollis song Jeans or Trauma, or if you are making more EDM stuff like his newest album Star or his first album. The kit has everything you need for melodies, for drums, for effects. Basically inside the kit there is everything you can imagine that would help you make 2hollis type beats. Okay, and let's start with the main melody that is the same for the trap part and EDM part. And the melody looks like this, so really it looks like just a bunch of random notes, but let me walk you through that. So basically this melody is just this kind of repetitive part with a top line that is changing every 2 bars and the progression that also changes every 2 bars with a little variation on the 6th bar. The preset I used for the melody comes from the Star Kit Serum pack, and it's this one. It's a simple square plug with a bunch of cool effects. Maybe I'll do a more detailed video on the serum effects from the pack. Let me know if you would like to watch it. The comment section is yours. And yeah, this is just a square wave, some noise and a filter, and then a bunch of effects. I also added a Shaperbox 3 preset from the kit, and it's this one. Let's hear how it sounds dry, and then let's hear how it sounds with the effect. So yeah, for the trap part I left the melody playing on its own without the Shaperbox effect. And for the EDM part the Shaperbox preset is on. And also for the first part, so the trap one, I added this second melody that sounds like this. And this one has a Shaperbox 3 preset from the kit on it as well. It's this preset made by me. And yeah, it's just some noise, distortion, filtering and with automation, with some compression. So yeah, very simple stuff, but sounds nice, I think. And yeah, this is how both the melodies sound together. The next thing I added was this donk bass. 2hollis uses the classic donk bass a lot in his music, and this one is a Vital preset made by JJ. So yeah, this is a quick walkthrough this preset. We have these two oscillators, some distortion, some chorus and a bit of EQ. And I've also cut out the lows in this bass because for the EDM part I'm layering it with a one shot from the pack. So the one shot is playing lows and this donk bass is basically just for the high frequencies of the bass. And this is how it sounds. So basically it just follows the progression of the melody. And for the trap part, the donk bass is just an accent for like the end of every 4 bars or 2 bars. And I've also added an 808 that comes from the trap part of the kit. So it's made by JJ and is this super hard, nasty 808. And obviously I turned up the volume of this 808 to make it clip, because this really gives the beat that 2hollis vibe. And yeah, let's go to the drums part now. So for the first half of the beat, this is how the drums sound. So as you can hear, it's kinda inspired by 2hollis' song Sidekick. And let's break down the main drum loop now. So the 808 also follows the chord progression, and on its own it sounds like this. Then I added this snare sound that sounds like this. And I layered it with a snap, and together they sound like this. And I also added stereo enhancer for the snap, so it just gives like a nice width to the high frequencies of the snare. And it's also turned down, so you can't hear it on its own, it just adds a nice character to the snare. And the main thing that kinda reminds me of Sidekick drum loop is this hi-hat pattern that plays this quick triplets, I think. And this is how it sounds with the snare. I also added a second hi-hat for like the end of every 4 bars, and this is just it. And the last thing I added to this drum loop was this second snare that's kinda heavier than the main snare. And it plays at the same time with the 808, which gives it a nice touch. Also similar to Sidekick. Then I added some effect sounds like this hit, this crash. And the crazy part is that JJ made all those drum fills for the kit. As you can see, there are 6 drum fills, some drum loops and extra drum rolls, so you have a lot to use with the kit. This is the one I chose, just for like the switch between chorus and verse that's here. And also I added this fill for the EDM part, but this is gonna come later. And yeah, this is basically it for the trap part. The last thing I missed is this crystallizer automation that I added for the main melody. And yeah, you're gonna hear that soon, because I'm going to play you the full trap part of the beat. Okay, and before we jump into the EDM part, let's focus for a quick moment on the transition between the both parts. So for the transition I used some effects from the pack, some made by me and some made by JJ, and those are basically the effects. They are pretty simple. So we have the car effect that's used a few times by 2hollis, I think, on his newest album Star. We have this little riser and then the big uplifter here for the transition basically. And also for the transition I just copied the main melody and introduced the shaper box preset I showed you earlier. This is how it sounds. And now the pillar of the EDM part, so the second bass. This is how the basses sound together. So as you can probably hear, the first bass, the donk bass, just serves as a transient for the bass and as a top part. And for the bottom part of the bass that fills the lower frequencies, I used this one shot from the pack that I made using Spire, which is goated plugin for basses. And yeah, for the bass processing, I didn't have to do much as the basses already sound good. So what I did is I just cut out the low end from the donk bass and turned down the transient a bit on the Spire bass, and I distorted two basses together using Decapitator, which is goated distortion plugin for this kind of beats. So yeah, we have covered the bass. The main melody is the same, so what's different? Well, I added these two basses. One is a one shot from the pack that sounds like this. It's stuttering like this because I also added a Shaperbox 3 preset from the pack that basically has this distortion rhythm, a reverb automation, some volume and a little scratch at the end of every 4 bars. And the other sound I've added for the EDM part is this lead. It's a Serum preset I made using these two Reese waves. One playing in unison and one playing just one voice. And we have a bit of LFO here that just gives it this nice attack at the start. And for the effects I added just EQ and distortion. This is how the main melody for the EDM part sounds. And yeah, for the drums in this part, as I've told you before, I added the same drum fill as for the trap part. And then I added few drums from the EDM part of the kit, like this main clap. And this little riser, which is actually a part of another clap from the kit. And then I've added this hi-hats. And this open hi-hats. And yeah, this is basically it. The drums on the EDM part I inspired by 2hollis' song Crash. So I didn't use any kicks or anything, just the clap and some hi-hats. And yeah, let's listen to the full EDM part now. And yeah, the big part of the EDM part are those little cuts in the main melody where only the bass plays or nothing plays at all. And yeah, 2hollis often does this kind of thing in his music. Or what you can also do for 2hollis type beats is you can do a volume automation and make the volume fade away at like end of every 8 bars or something. And yeah, this was it. As you can see, 2hollis type beats are relatively simple. There's nothing really complicated in this kind of music, but you need good sound selection, and this is why we made this kit. And you can get it now from the first link in the description. The kit has over 1000 sounds. We have drums, we have effects, drum loops, melodic loops, presets for Shaperbox, Vital and Serum 2, one shots, and basically everything you may need for 2hollis type beats. I've also thrown in some MIDIs from my beats, so it's easier for you to make melodies. And I think this MIDI is also in the kit. Get started from the first link in the description, and see you in the next one.